Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. For more than 150 years, ours has been a church of open minds and loving hearts, celebrating many sources of wisdom, many spiritual paths, many identities, living lives of love and justice. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your hopes for our world are welcome here. Our doors are closed because our hearts are open, practicing care and compassion for our community. You can still stay connected by joining Chalice circles or Sunday coffee hour online, summer groups or forums. Stay up to date in your weekly e-news or contact the office. Each week, our offering during the service goes to support people within and beyond our church. This week, our collection is split to support the church and to provide emergency financial assistance through our Human Needs Fund. We're collecting for it often because the need is so great right now. If you or someone you know from the church is in need of assistance for groceries, for challenging bills, or more, please reach out to myself or call the office for assistance. And today, our music is one of transition, hearing from all of our staff musicians. It's Connie Schuelka's official last Sunday as co-director of music. We celebrated her last week in our service with beautiful music. And this week, Connie plays some, and we also welcome Austin Ferguson, our new co-director of music, who's serving with Joe Mish. We're grateful to them all for providing such beautiful music for today's service. And in the words of the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes, minister of this church in the 1870s, may our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together.
This is the First Unitarian Universalist Church. Today's Chalice Lighting comes from the words of Linda Lee Franzen.
We light this flame to ignite our hearts and minds, the spark of knowledge that enlightens, the shimmering hope that burns, the blazing love that engulfs our actions, the bonfire of our commitment.
We light this flame for those who celebrate themselves, who fear, who hope, who persevere, and who side with love for all.
We light this flame for those who have been ridiculed, that they may find peace, for those who have fought to marry, that they may celebrate, for those who live in uncertainty in the world, that they may have hope.
We light this flame to renew our commitment that no one shall ever again suffer for the right to love.
We light this flame to celebrate our kaleidoscope of diversity, working, loving, and living on the side of love. For this, we light this flame.
When I reflect on my early life, I have come to realize that I lived a privileged childhood and adolescence. That time of my life was safe, secure, and loving. Naively, I assumed that everyone had the same situation in life. Compassion, our theme for this month, was not an emotional state that I dwelt on giving my worldview at that time. At college, I experienced the struggle and strife of the 60s, but still I was safe and adequately supported economically and emotionally. Then I went to medical school and learned the art of medicine. During medical school, I began to meet people whose lives were filled with pain and struggle. that I had not even imagined could exist in the world. In my training, I experienced more and more the joys and sorrows of other people's lives. After an internal medicine internship, I worked on the Navajo reservation and witnessed poverty at a level that was unconscionable. Life on the reservation was hard and still is hard. Witness the COVID-19 outbreaks that are occurring there. I was fortunate to have a mentor with a detailed knowledge of Navajo culture, and he gave me the wisdom to understand that I was dealing with a culture that had significantly different precepts and understandings of life. He admonished me to work to understand the Navajo people, the Diné. It took perseverance to constantly try to look at my interactions with the Diné from their cultural perspective. Many of my colleagues found it too difficult to make this cultural shift and withdrew from engaging emotionally with the people on the reservation. The trap that I saw was the tendency to deal with the Navajo people in a hierarchical, paternalistic, and controlling way. It took constant mindfulness to avoid these pitfalls and bring kindness and compassion into my interactions with the Navajo people. I hope that I was at least partially successful. This experience helped me to see myself in a more universal context. It broke open my heart to a deeper love and understanding of other people. It was a pivotal experience in my maturation process. I was so grateful that I had the chance to experience challenges that helped me grow beyond my ordered life. I would like to call us to worship with these words by the Reverend Andrew Pakula. Let there be light, the light of joy, the light of happiness, and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace. And let there be dark, for it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, tried and tested, and impelled toward growth. It is in these places that we realize compassion and learn to love. And there was day, and there was night, and there was joy, and there was sorrow, and it was good.
Good morning. So this summer, our theme is compassion. And compassion can mean a lot of different things to people. But sometimes what compassion is just being there for someone and really listening to them and not trying to solve their problems. So that's what today's story is all about. The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfeld. One day, Taylor was digging around in their basement and found a box. They knew that this was a magical box. That out of this box was going to be something special. Something amazing. Taylor was so proud of themselves. When suddenly, everything changed. Their amazing tower was now just a pile of blocks. Taylor was very sad when along came the chicken. The chicken kept saying, "Cluck, cluck, let's talk, cluck, cluck, let's talk about it. It will make you feel better, cluck, 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 cluck." But Taylor did not want to talk, so he told the chicken that, and the chicken went away, leaving Taylor all alone. Then along came the bear. Taylor told the bear what happened, and the bear started shouting and was saying, "Let's shout about it, yell about it, it will make you feel better." But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so they told the bear that, and the bear left. Once again, Taylor was all alone. Then along came the elephant. An elephant said, "Let's reminisce. Let's talk about the memories of what your tower looked like." But Taylor did not want to reminisce and talk about how good their tower used to look. And they told the elephant that, and the elephant went away, leaving Taylor alone again. Then came the hyena, and the hyena said, "Let's laugh about it." But Taylor didn't want to laugh about it. And then came the ostrich, and the ostrich said, "Let's pretend it never happened." Then along came the kangaroo, and the kangaroo said, "Let's just clean it up and make it go away." Then the snake came and said, "Let's ruin someone else's." But Taylor certainly did not want to do that. So the hyena and the ostrich and the kangaroo and the snake all went away, leaving Taylor alone again. Then along came a rabbit. It was so quiet that Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit. But the bunny kept moving closer and closer and closer to them, until the next thing you knew, the rabbit was right next to Taylor. Taylor asked, "Will you please stay with me?" And the rabbit did. It took a while, but then Taylor started talking, and the rabbit listened. The rabbit listened while Taylor shouted about how angry they were. And the rabbit listened while Taylor remembered about how spectacular the building was. And the rabbit listened while Taylor was shoving everything away, picking up the mess so they wouldn't have to remember. And the rabbit listened when Taylor ranted about wanting to ruin it for everybody else. And through all this, the rabbit kept listening until suddenly Taylor had an idea. Taylor asked the rabbit to work with them to make a new something amazing. And so they did, together. And through it all, the rabbit stayed with Taylor, and the rabbit listened. So when you have one of those days where you feel that nobody or nothing can understand what you're going through, sometimes you just need to talk it out without anybody trying to fix it or make you feel better, but just for them to listen. So when you need people like that to listen to you, there are people who need you to listen to them sometimes too. And that is just one of the many ways we can show compassion for our friends and family.
are separated by space and time, but we are still together, and we gather in a virtual way as we continue to create a place of communal caring and connection. Be enriched by the virtual presence of each other, and draw yourself into the heart of love in this time of service and reflection. In this time together, we ask that our minds be open, our hearts welcoming, our arms embracing. We honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Joyce Wood, serving as our caring coordinator for the last week, arranging care for our members and friends in need. Diane Clausen will take over next week, and we thank her for that. As we continue through this time of staying at home, many of us may need additional care, whether it be pastoral care, grocery delivery, or an errand run, and we encourage you to reach out to Reverend Luke or myself with that request. We thank all of you who have offered to assist our members with these requests, and we send gratitude to you all for serving our congregation during this time. This morning's flowers are shared by Connie Schuelka, and she'd like to share a few words with you all.
The flowers this morning are given with deepest gratitude to this congregation. I am the richer for all the years I have worked here, played here, and worshiped here. This church is filled with so many warm, loving, caring people, and it has truly been my honor to have served as your co-director of music. The board of directors has honored me with the title Musician Emerita, and I am filled with gratitude. Working with this staff is a privilege. Luke makes worship planning fun, collaborative, and deeply meaningful. And working with Joe Mish as my co-director of music over all these years has been one of my profound joys. We've made a great team. All of the people who have sung in the choir, the other directors of music I've worked with, the other ministers I have served, and all the guest musicians through the years, and this amazing and wonderful congregation have made this so much more than just a job. I've been privileged to be witness to so many of your joys and sorrows over the years, and hope that the music that I have played has helped you on your life's journey. I am truly blessed. What a pleasure it has been. And now I turn over this position to Austin Ferguson. May you come to love this church and its people as much as I do. Thank you.
In this community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person here has value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those whose lives are touched by sadness, by illness, by worry, or by loneliness. We revel in those who are celebrating joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all. May all of us find comfort, hope, joy, and healing strength in this community. Please hold Cole Beecher in your caring thoughts. Cole underwent a surgery on Thursday, June 25th, to correct his bite despite several attempts with braces. He endured a 5-hour surgery and is facing a pretty painful recovery that can last many weeks. So we send healing thoughts to Cole for a swift recovery. As we have over these last few months, we need to continue to reach out to all in our community to let them know that we are still here and still holding and supporting them. We encourage you all to send cards and make calls to those you love, support your local businesses, helping to open the doors of communication and community. May the faith in the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Feel below you the earth and its ancient turning. Feel above you the sky and the stars with their ancient light. And you here, held between, made of both earth and stars. Know that here you are named, you are known as beloved, as sacred, as welcome. I invite you into this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life and source of love, God of 1,000 names and beyond all naming. Sometimes it's hard to know how much a heart can hold without taking on too much, without being weighed down by the immensity of grief in this world. And sometimes it's astonishing how the heart keeps beating or the soul keeps loving right through it all. Right through the uncertainty, through the immensity, finding a way to just take one beat at a time, nothing more, nothing less than the love that can come in and flow out steady, manageable, just enough. May our hearts stay steady, so that together we might create a mighty chorus, a steady beat of love, beat by single beat, breath by single breath. We hold all those who suffer in mind, in body, or spirit in our own families and communities and throughout our world. Today we hold Robin Taylor and Joe Lobel and their family, as Robin's mother, Diana, who was a regular presence here in the church, her picture right over there in this sanctuary. She died last Sunday. She passed peacefully with her daughter, Robin, holding her hand, and her other daughter, Penelope Taylor, watching virtually. A celebration of her life will be held later this summer online to hold her memory and her life. And today we grieve and are grateful for the life of church member Joyce Rundle. Joyce died on Tuesday morning this week, surrounded by love and with her husband, Dick, being cared for by her children for several weeks and having had almost the entire family with her just a few days before she passed. We hold their whole family in love. Joyce shared with me just several days ago her love and gratitude for this church, mentioning the pile of cards she had received. She said how good the UU people were. How true. She wanted to return thank yous for all those cards and all those calls. And in this way, she has shown her love yet. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. I invite you to bring the names that you are holding in your own heart in joy or in sorrow, in celebration or concern, and silently or aloud now, wherever you are gathered, to speak their names. For all those names and many others, may we all be held in love and in grace. These words of meditation come from the Sufi mystic Hafiz. How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all its beauty? It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened. Amen.
The first reading is excerpts from Before You Know What Kindness Really Is by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing inside. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all your sorrows and you see the sides of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out in the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. The second reading is Now I Love You, Now I Witness by the Reverend Theresa Soto. I know sometimes you get cranky, and sometimes your tea gets cold before you can drink it. Sometimes the news is too much. The resistance seems too little. That's real, but we are here, imperfect and together and reaching. You can hold my hand if you want. I washed it with soap. It's okay. In this kind of time, now is better than later. Now I love you. Now I am sorry it hurts. Now I witness your struggle and mine. Sometimes one answer is to be a yes in the face of every no. I am a yes for you, now and again, later if you need me.
In the turn towards summer weather, in a summer where nothing feels quite right or normal, of course, I've been daydreaming from time to time of things that are off balance. There is certainly much there to be analyzed about my own psyche and about the dreams that I've had about things being under construction or places being different than I remembered them, but I digress. We don't have time for all of that. But there is something about the lack of balance in my soul and in our world that has reminded me of summertime moments, who knows why, of teeter-totters and paddle boats in particular. I'm not sure why, but I remember so many times when the balance between two people, whether it was me or watching others, was quite off. You can imagine the little paddle boat just at a 45-degree angle going through the water, or you can imagine the teeter-totter just not really tottering at all. That there was a struggle there, these two people struggling together to find how to hold that difference. A little extra effort by some, trying to sit or balance carefully, by another, trying to get just the right feel to attend to each other proportionally, so that nobody fell off the board and so nobody fell overboard. Before you know what kindness really is, writes the poet, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. You must lose something, she writes. And at the very least, and for some much more, but at the very least, we've lost our soul balance, I think. At least from time to time during these days. Unsure of the balance of the scale of the world or the news, the balance of our soul, unsure of what is on the other side of that teeter-totter, whether it's going to flip us up or we're going to crash to the ground. You can feel stuck much of the time between the regions of kindness. The theme for the summer had been slated to be play in our theme resources, and then when all hell broke loose all across the globe, they switched it to compassion. And perhaps we need a little of both. Those simple, almost childlike reminders, paddle boats and teeter-totters, those things that taught us early how to care for each other, or at least how we ought to care for each other and the consequences when we don't, to avoid injury of body, mind, soul by struggling together. The root of compassion means to suffer together, to suffer with another. It comes from meanings about sorrow taking hold in one person because of the experience of someone else. Compassion, to suffer with. There's a lot of nuances there. Some have said during this pandemic that I've shared before, but as a general truth in life and the world all the time, that even if we're in the same storm, we are not in the same boat, paddle boat or otherwise. That the differences we have in identity, in access, in privilege, in ability, in circumstance make a whole lot of difference. Those scales, the balance among us all, they're not equal. They never have been. That we are each made of a fabric of different threads. And the work of compassion, as the poet writes, is to catch those threads of sorrow, our own and others, and to know the strands for their particular feel and color, their stretch and pull and strength. Maybe you've seen this meme recently on Facebook. It's of Jesus and the Sermon on the Mount, Beatitudes, talking about blessed are all these people, blessed are the poor and the meek and the humble. And then somebody responds in this meme that is not an actual biblical thing. Someone says, "No, Jesus, everybody's blessed." True. But that's not the point. The point is we are not all the same. We are not in the same boat. And sometimes we need to pay attention to our particularities to truly love our neighbor. And so it seems to me that compassion is not about pretending that our suffering is the same, that we are all somehow equal in our sorrow. Of course, we know that isn't true. But compassion is about attending to the differences among us, paying attention to the balance of what we're carrying and what another is carrying, not always understanding it. Because sometimes, as hard as we try, we cannot feel the heartbreak that another feels. But we can, like the rabbit in today's story, just listen, witness, just pay attention to it. and let the pain and the sorrow of another be what it is. Allow it to be. And then compassion is what changes us inside. It allows us to be changed because of the pain we know and hear from another, to let it break our heart open without breaking it apart, so there's room for more and more love. We can only carry so much of it on our own grief, the world's grief, let alone that of a good friend or loved one in addition. But the gravity of it, the weight of it on our own soul and heart and hope can be lessened, even if just for a moment or just a little bit can be held, even just a small portion of it, by acts of love, of kindness, that people remember us, send us cards, give us phone calls, those little moments that we reach out even in the midst of this time of distancing, the kind that pays attention to the differences of what we're all holding and doesn't fade it or fix it or compare it or redirect it to our own story. It's the kind of love and compassion and kindness that just sits down right with our pain or another's pain and says, I love you. I'm sorry it hurts. I witness your struggle and mine. To witness the struggle, the difference of pain and hurt, that for some is about the weight of the world of generations, that their black or their brown skin, their identity is somehow subhuman, to say that Black lives matter. For some, it is that their love for another person of the same gender is not right somehow, they've been told, because it wasn't what was in the old storybooks or it wasn't what was in the old scriptures, which isn't right or true. But it's about saying that love is worthy and beautiful and as sacred during this time of pride and all the time. For some, it's about their abilities and being told that their abilities are wrong, or their ethnicity being other or different, their gender being less and being accordingly compensated. And the list goes on and on, these old stories, these old hatreds and oppressions of who is in and who is out, who is right, who is wrong, because we have failed over and over as humanity to truly live into the beauty of our differences and to know them as sacred, day and night, light and dark, as good. It is only kindness that makes sense anymore, writes the poet. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it is I you have been looking for, and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. Doesn't fix it, but goes with you. Compassion isn't about knowing what to do, having the right words, the right action, having answers or phrases or understanding of what someone is holding, which is mostly impossible. Just this week, in a moment where imaginative play and compassion join together, the two themes of this summer, two young children were walking along a path where the sign by the tree said, "Weeping Willow." And the children said, "The tree is sad? It's weeping?" And carefully, gently, before an answer that was biological and scientific could explain, no, that's just the name of the tree. It's not really weeping, blah, 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 these adult answers. Before that even started, they just carefully, gently moved to the tree and wrapped their arms around it and held it and gave it a hug. Because it doesn't take too much imagination to notice the weeping right in front of us. And compassion is the practice of not needing to know every detail. Why is the willow sad? I don't know, but I'm going to give it a hug. To attend to and bear witness to its pain because it's sacred and beautiful the way it just weeps. You don't need to know why the willow is weeping to catch those weeping branches in your heart, to, as the poet says, catch the threads of sorrow. For your heart to be broken open just enough to only know to stop what you're doing right in your tracks. Turn to the soul that has laid bare their pain right in front of you, and maybe it's your own pain, and say, I love you. I'm sorry it hurts. I witness your struggle and mine. Sometimes in the face of every no, writes the poet, we must be the yes that holds the sorrow in the embrace of unconditional, unquestioning, uncertain, unwavering love. May your heart break open without breaking apart, with compassion and love for your own pain and for the world's. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.